happy Memorial Day. I'm not sure when you're watching this. Might be not Memorial Day, obviously, but for us here at Faith Baptist Church, Memorial Day is a pretty special time. For many, many years, we've had a Memorial Day service. For many years, it was at the Wildomar Cemetery, and then we'd have 600-800 people show up there and pretty well crowd the place out. And then we became a city, and the city wanted that, and so we graciously, kicking and screaming, moved it to our church football field where we let them do what they want. And but anyway, we for some years now had our Memorial Day service at the football field at our church, and just a public service, no preaching, no offering, just a chance to remember how good it is to be an American and to realize the endless stream of lives that were poured out on soil around the world, and bodies lost at sea and buried and never found again, and who knows how many hours spent in prison camps, and suffering, of course, of people who came home not the same as when they left. I remember the stories of from my mom and my grandmother, of my grandma's brothers, because they were in that World War II era. And some of the brothers went to war and came back, never said a word about it. Some of them came back struggling, and you don't enter into a conflict like that and come back the same. And some very difficult things that our military face. And I hope all of us would realize that nobody enjoys the things we have. I'm sitting here in a beautiful yard at my house, standing here. Fruit trees behind me, flowers blooming, two little dogs that are pretty well worthless for the size of them, and a family and grandkids, and all the friends a guy could ever ask for. And but I'm not going to forget that somebody gave up a home, gave up their chance for marriage, gave up their chance for children and grandchildren and a home and an education, and they did it for me and you, that we might enjoy the things that we have. And whatever day, maybe you're listening to this later on, I hope you'll be reminded of how grateful we ought to be. Everything good we have, somebody struggled for it. Whether it be our life, that our mother, struggled to give birth to us, whether it be the countless hours that Dad spent going to and from work and trying to worry through the hours to figure out how to feed his family, the struggles that people had in founding a business, and the total pouring out of self to get a business going. And you and I show up, we just get a job and we get a paycheck. We don't realize how difficult it was to start that thing, that now we get our hourly paycheck or our salary or whatever. And may we be people that are grateful for those who went before. When I see our immigrants coming into our country, and I realize there's people not following laws and things that maybe they should be, but I also remember my family came from Norway to America. They didn't speak the language, they didn't own property, they had nothing, and they had to go find a place, and they went up toward the Dakotas somewhere. They were farmers, and it was so cold there they couldn't farm, and then they worked their way down, and by the time family that I knew were born and grew up, they were in Iowa and in Kansas, in that area. My mom's family from Norway, my dad's family from England, and that area in Scotland, I think. But they all immigrated here, and they wanted a life, and it's not easy to come from another country. And I look at the young people. We've had young people in our church recently from Guatemala and other South American countries that they speak no English, but they come and they hear the gospel and they get saved, and the young people just dropped into the schools, and I know there's some political reasons to be frustrated, but I just think God is bringing people to us to tell of the love of Christ, and we need to remember our grandparents, great grandparents, whoever, somebody came here, and it was hard, and they came and ran a risk, and so Memorial Day in particular, we're remembering our military and the unbelievable price that people have paid all over the world. If you want to go back far to England and the press gangs, you might be working your field, and some of the Queen's soldiers come by, just take you from the field, put you on a ship, and ship you, and your family didn't even know where you went. And you may die at sea or be crippled and come back a crippled person. And you know, there's been a lot of price paid by military people so that there could be civilization. And in order for there to be a civil environment, an orderly environment, somebody has to pay a price. Jesus said, "A greater love hath no man than this, that a man lay down his life for his friends." And that phrase is used often of you and me and other people who give themselves for others. But it started with the one who stretched out his hands and said, "You can put a nail right there, and you can pierce this side, you can put a crown of thorns on, and I'll bleed for you. And I will lay down my life." Jesus said, "I lay down my life, and I have the power to take it up again. And no man taketh my life from me." Our Lord said very clearly, I'm giving my life. And that's the example of Christianity, of godliness, of great parenting, of a great community, when people will stop trying to get what makes them happy and start living for others. That's what makes a great country. It's not about me, it's about others. It's not about what I get, it's about what I can give. And when you get a whole bunch of people doing that, you get a great country. And you have a bunch of me first people, and I want my rights, and I want what's mine, and I want what I deserve, you're going to have a very selfish country. And selfishness and godliness never meet. The two are so opposed. A republic like America, a constitutional republic like what we have in America, it cannot function with a selfish citizenry. The two, it can't work. And I hope we will realize that everything we enjoy, somebody paid for, and especially today, think about our military. And I know people in our church, they say, "Well, I'm nobody. I never even left the States. I served for my 4 years, got out, never even left the country." But you know what? They were in uniform. They could have. They could have been put on a plane or a boat and shipped around the world to who knows what. They offered their lives. And I hope we'll remember that all that we have, somebody paid for. When it comes to us being saved, somebody paid for that. Jesus did. And you know, in the community here, people aren't going to get saved unless we give our lives to sharing the gospel and telling people how to get saved. So on this Memorial Day, I hope you'll take time to remember how good God is, how faithful He is, and how much we owe the many people who went before us and offered their lives, some dying, that you and I might have our freedom. We have a wonderful country, and we have a lot of things to rejoice in. I hope you're grateful today for how good God's been. Have a great Memorial Day.